And it says we're live. Hey, y'all, this is David, the Georgia photographer. Stream attempt number 3 on the Friday night stream to talk about DP review. We'll see how it looks when it populates on the screen right there. It looks okay right now. It may have been the capture card was giving me the trouble. A capture card looks like this. This is the Camlink 4K capture card, and this thing was like the cat's meow back in the day. All right, clear as day, Grant Govro. All right, let me tell my IT guy. We'll see if Ray jumps in. Ray called me. There we go. He is here. All right, thank you, Ray. I'm pretty sure it's this. Because I took this out of play and I've got the Z50 USB straight in. Seems to be working. So we'll see how this goes. Albert says third time will be a charm. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully it will. Whew. I have done all sorts of stuff trying to get this to work. Maybe this was the whole problem the whole time. Was this thing just couldn't keep up. It's pretty old. I bought it in 2019 or 2020. So, who knows? But I've used it a ton of times. Maybe that was it. Interesting. Bass Angler made it back. How you doing? Let's see here. Grant Govro. It's been a while. Might be a failing device. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking there's something going bad in this. Man, that was kind of stressful. Trying to get the stream to run. Okay, maybe pop out the chat, as they say, so I can continue to read it. Come on. Let's see here. Pop out chat. There we go. There's my popped out chat. Move it down here till it loads. There it goes. Now, I can go up here and jump over to this. What I was going to talk about tonight is the sad reality of DP Review shutting down. All right, this is after you click on this link, it takes you to this notification page, and it says in anticipation of your questions, because they know there's going to be a bunch of them. But they've been almost in operation almost a quarter century. I didn't realize they had been open that long. But this has been one of the go-to sources for information about products and tips and tricks, but mostly products that everybody that's in the camera space has used. Literally, it's like one of the cornerstones of digital photography. And it's just sad to see it go because, well, we don't really know the because. We assume the because, but, you know, they're telling you the difficult decision is part of the annual operating plan review that our parent company, come to find out, is Amazon, shared earlier this year. Now, what this means is when Amazon made the annual operating plan, if I'm understanding this language right, Amazon decided to shut down DP Review. Apparently, there wasn't enough profit in this site from these banner ads, which this is an Amazon ad on their very own website. There's a banner up here. Let's see. Yeah, there's not a lot of ads. That's probably part of the reason. I don't know. I've never paid for my access to it. I don't know if you have a paid version of this or not. I've never had to. If I was going to pick, it'd be Roger Deakins. But anyway, let's see here. But yeah, they're going to lock the site. So in other words, you won't be able to post on the forums after April 10th. And then it'll be in read-only mode. It says for a limited time. And that's probably until they get all the servers shut down or whatever. But this is a pretty hard hitting event that's going to impact. There'll be ripples of this through the photography space for a long time to come. It's going to be so much. What do you call it? Let me move this over. Get my little YouTube tab back. Put this over here. That way I can see it. All right. We'll see if this catches up. Is everybody still here, or am I not seeing the... Oh, I see what's wrong. It's not set to live chat. Y'all been chatting, and I just haven't seen it. Yep. There's all the comments. Ooh, there's quite a few. Okay. The hat. You made it. I see John Trevina. Now, I sent John that Nikon camera that we talked about, so I'm curious to see if he's able to get any photos out of it yet. Pretty sad stuff, yeah. Really, any technical camera lens or photography question is answered. Yeah, like any. It's insane how much information is captured on that website that's going to be lost. And there's no archive of it other than you have Wayback Machine. I don't know how deep Wayback Machine will go. Like forums, it'll probably save the front page of a forum thread, but like if there's 125 pages of comments, it probably won't save all of them. I would be greatly surprised if it did. Albert says DP was one of the best places to go for vintage lens info with an army of photographers willing to help. Wow. Yeah. Well, you always got the Georgia Photographer's lens reviews. He's got most vintage lenses on there. There's quite a few I don't have on there. I don't have like any medium format stuff or yeah, or any like Hasselblad or whew, wow, what happened here, man? But that was kind of shocking to hear that last week. Got to get back over to Glazers and get a roll of black and white. Okay. DxO Mark is okay. Digicam DB. Well, you got Petapixel too, and then yeah, there's a few. And what's the crew that relocated their whole outfit down to Puerto Rico? They have a big YouTube presence. I can't remember their name now. I wished I could. It's sad. I draw a blank whenever I do that, and it's just, I guess it's built into my brain. But Albert says over 2 decades of information on lenses and cameras will be lost unless somebody downloads it. Maybe somebody will download it. I was going to show you guys something that, if it works tonight. It was working the other day. It looks like it's back up and running. I'm working on it. Yeah, it's back operational. Okay. I'm going to my old industrial website. The reason I'm doing this is because I showed you that Morse code key the other day, but I want to go back to about 2009. There we go. Where's the snapshot? There it is. There's the snapshot from 2009. All right, here we go. Let's transition over and share this with you. These are the Morse code keys I said I was making. And the one I showed you the other day is all tarnished because It's sat here for almost 20 years, and I've used it a few times. But as you can see from these pictures, they were highly polished brass and stainless steel. They were literally works of art in metal. This is the prototype that's sitting on the desk. It's all tarnished now. I really need to dismantle that thing and clean it up. It looked so good when it was new. Man, it's pretty. Yeah, these are what I was building back in the day, and I was talking about trying to get back to this and start building them again. We did this starburst pattern on some of them. Mine has the starburst mill pattern. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because it had, it had been so much work to make them. Actually, you can see the farewell note I wrote when I stopped making them. And this was in 2009 when I made this post. Or, well, that's the day they took the snapshot. It stayed up for quite a while. I don't know what day I actually made this comment, but I had to pull the plug on it. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you. And then this tab, it says specialty welding. Let me just show you what specialty welding was back then. My wife had a Volkswagen Jetta turbo diesel. And the car got like 50 miles a gallon. Unfortunately, the car also had an aluminum oil pan that was a casting. She hit a rock in the driveway and busted it out. And what I was trying to do at this point was put stress fracture drill points in it before I started welding. And when I was working on this side, it cracked right through there, so I gave up on that and cut all of that out. And then went back with literally 1/2 inch and 3/8 plate aluminum and TIG welded it all back together and created a brand new drain plug for it, so that it would have a reinforced base so that it wouldn't break off again, because it was just like 1/8 inch aluminum casting. Yeah, I re-welded the whole thing from scratch. Built a brand new one, basically. That was my idea of specialty welding at the time. All right, we'll get back over to this. I'll turn that off. But there we go. TIG time, yeah. Wow, those Morse code keys are gorgeous. Thank you. Not enough things are made from machined brass anymore. It's true, and I know why. It's a lot of work. To get them that shiny took a good bit, because I tried just polishing out the machine marks, and you can do that, but it takes an innate amount of time on the polishing wheel. What I found worked best was you take a real fine cut, and then you take a 1/4 sheet palm sander and sand it with like 220 grit, and sand it down as smooth as you can first, then polish it. And man, that made it like shine, and it was dead smooth, like a mirror. Worked like a charm. And on the big flat surfaces, I could do that pretty easily, but where the little curves were and stuff, it was just kind of hard to reach in there and sand it. John Traverna. A YouTuber took down his Amazon links over it. Albert, all photographers should boycott Amazon. Yeah, I know who did that. It's the guy that does the photographic eye. He shut his down, and I'll be honest with you, I'm going to join him and not put them on mine. When I first started this channel, I signed up for the affiliate program and put links up, but I didn't do enough volume, and they shut me off. But now I'm doing enough volume, I could go back and add them back and probably could do good with it. But since they basically pulled the rug out from under the photography community and apparently didn't even bother, like Amazon is so wealthy that they don't even care if the data's lost. They're just going to shut it down and walk away from it and not even give somebody else the opportunity to buy it and run it. Because I guarantee you somebody would buy that website and take up and turn on with it, and keep it going. Woody says, glad to see you figured out the stream. Ray Soldano got on the phone with me, and we went through and done a bunch of troubleshooting, and we're pretty sure the capture card was going bad. Took this out, and right now I'm on the Z50, and it's, I don't have the power pack in it. I don't know how long that battery's going to hold up. I have this fake battery that has a wire on it that I normally plug into the Z50, and I just realized it ain't plugged in. I'm running on a battery. So if it shuts off in the middle of the stream, then I'll put this in it and turn it back on, and I'll get it back going. I'll pull one of Phil's stunts and have the camera die on me midstream. If y'all didn't see that stream, I think it was last week, it was like 10 days ago. You got to watch that stream just for the comic relief of all the trouble he has getting those Canon cameras to stream for him. He normally used like a Z6, I believe he said was his normal stream camera, and he ran into some heavy problems on that thing. But oh, Lord. Bass Angler said there's a tornado on the ground in Mississippi. It smacked a small town dead right in the center, and you could see the debris on the radar. Wow, sorry about that. Man. Guys, if y'all live in Mississippi, pay attention to the weather. Apparently it's bad down there. Woody says, I've had the Circle of Doom on a lot of YouTube live streams today. Interesting. Bass Angler says, Amazon's like Walmart. I believe in capitalism 100%, but unfortunately Amazon and Walmart are products of the downside. Yeah, I mean, it's taking capitalism to the extreme. And I understand kind of the premise. It's like it's a runaway train syndrome. It starts out with good intentions, but then it starts working so good you don't know how to turn it off. And it becomes a self-propagating monster after a certain point. Let's see here. John says, got to do it together as photographers. Then they'll think twice about the bottom line. I've already stopped buying on Amazon pretty much. Yeah, I mean, there's a few little things I get on there, but I haven't spent no significant money on there since then. I have bought a few things like these little wire connectors that you just can't get them anywhere else, hardly. I mean, you have to look and look and look just to find them, and it's like a 3-second search on Amazon. It's really hard not to use. But yeah, he took down all of his affiliate links. Yeah, I hope somebody will try to talk to Amazon, see if they can buy it. Maybe that'll get somebody's attention. Bezos only wants to spawn on Mars. Him and Musk have this race to Mars, don't they? Well, as it turns out, because of this, and because I wasn't quite ready, and I didn't get a ring light yet, because that was the solution for this light, is I don't have a second camera set up. I was looking at setting it up, facing it toward the radios, because let's see if you can still hear them. No, he's shut down now. There was a Parks on the Air station on frequency right here on 149.5, or 14 over 49.5. And I got him in my log earlier tonight, but man, he was booming in. The bands have been terrible today because of some solar flares, to the point that they were talking about on the space weather report that you could possibly see the aurora as far south as Alabama. That's here. Dude, that's a lot of radiation into the atmosphere. People were saying they could see it. They could see it last night as far south as the United States. Somebody up north was seeing the aurora. They need to pack up and leave. Bezos and Musk can race to Mars. And I hope they'll be very happy there together. No. See, they're smarter than that. All the cool stuff's here on Earth. There ain't really anything on Mars yet, so they're going to send people to Mars to build some infrastructure. and then they might go. But, you know, they got to have a Starbucks and, you know, and a watch store and a place to buy a yacht. And they don't have any of that there. It's all here. So until they get that squared away, they ain't no real reason for them to go yet. Travina says, every Martian will have their eyes looking two different ways. All right, let's see here. What was the other thing I had? I think there's an update on the Z8, was there? Was that the latest I seen? I think oh yeah. Let me move this down a little bit. I don't have to. Transition over. This Miki announces a new 85mm f1.8 full frame autofocus. Now I don't know what STM means. Not real sure what that is. Some kind of motor. Silent, I don't know, motor. Oh, come on. No, cancel. For the Z mount for $200. An 85 f1.8 autofocus lens with whatever these kind of motors are. I'm assuming that's some kind of silent motor for $200. That's crazy. This picture don't look bad. I mean, oh, well, I see why. It's shot with the 85 f1.2 S lens. Why did they put that here? Why is that the rumor? And this is the pictures. And they're different. That's silly. Maybe if I just click this, what will we see? Let's take us just to the page. There we go. There's some product photos. Looks pretty good. What's surprising to me, I'm going to just jump back over for a minute and talk to you. What's surprising to me about lenses like this now in 2023 is compared to the lenses that you were getting in, 1993 from third-party makers, they're actually really good for $200. I've got one. It's in here. Let me move this. This lens, for instance, this is that TT Artisan 35F 0.95. I have bought a lens hood for it. It's an Amazon purchase, but this lens takes shockingly good photos, and it's like, was it? Is it right at $200? I think maybe $150. I don't remember, but it's crazy cheap for glass that fast. It is APS-C, but it's good. Now, where they're saving money with this lens is it's full manual. This one don't have any electronics whatsoever. This lens is full auto, basically. Yeah, let's clean that up. I don't know what that's about. Transition back over here. But, yeah, this thing is crazy. Supports autofocus, electronic aperture adjustment, EXIF information. So, this is a stepper motor design. Let's see here. Stepper motor technology is what Ray said. Okay, that makes sense. The hat says this here. I got to catch back up. There's a lot of chit-chat. Grant says, wonder what the last article will be on DP Review. Probably about the creators, because they've been doing a lot of focus on that lately. If you look, I'm just jump over here to it. They've got their video with Chris Nichols and, what's the other gentleman's name? I don't remember now. Once again, drawing that blank. They did this video, our 5 favorite products we ever reviewed. I watched that one the other day. It's kind of neat to see the things they picked, you know, and they picked across the history of their work with DP Review. So it wasn't like the most current camera model. It happened to be like, one of them I think said he liked the Fuji X-T3 because when it came out, it was like this awesome camera. You know, the video fellow, whatever his name is, one of y'all drop it in the chat in a minute. I don't know where his name is. By the time I find it, y'all will have told me 3 times. But he was talking about, he liked a certain kind of tripod that he bought years ago and used it and used it and used it and used it and used it. That's here. Jordan, that was him. Jordan Drake. There you go. I need one of y'all to know. But yeah, I think it'll be something about the team is what I think the last thing they'll do is. I think they're done reviewing products. I don't think they're going to bother to do any more reviews. If they do, it's like, why? I mean, it's going to be up for a week, and then they're just going to nuke it. Why would you bother? The hat says, as a totally random aside, I landed a new job today, and I think I'll be doing some camera upgrades in the near future. I'm thinking either a Z6 II or an XH2. Wow. Nice. Congratulations. That's awesome. I'll get back over here and get the chat brought back up. So, if it was me, since you have a bunch of Nikkor glass already, even though it's older glass, I'd stick with the Nikon body. The XH2 is crop sensor, which ain't bad, but all your lenses are geared towards full frame tech, if I remember right. So, you know, with film cameras, that's full frame. So, you know, your focal lengths will all seem longer once you do that. So there's a little bit of a downer there if you switch to the Fujifilm chassis. If you've got any autofocus glass, newer stuff that's like AF series, was it AFS, the electric focus, then, you know, the Z6 will drive it. So that's an option. Albert says Amazon's destroyed small towns across the U.S. by putting small businesses out of business. And there are hundreds of empty malls all over the country. Yeah, the whole, you know, malls didn't exist until the 60s, I'm pretty sure. Maybe the late 50s. A mall wasn't a thing. It just wasn't. Supermarkets didn't exist until after World War II. You know, you had little small town like general stores or grocers that sold produce, or your butcher or your baker. No one had conglomerated anything until after the war, and that's when money was kind of flowing freely in the U.S. and supermarkets came to be. Malls were an evolution of supermarkets in that they just pulled a bunch of brands together into a single space so that people could easily access them in a climate-controlled environment. You know, you think about it, it makes logical sense. So, you know, malls saw their heyday, honestly, in the 80s. That was the heyday of the mall. The big mega malls were all built in the 80s. I remember they built Hamilton Place probably in 85, I guess, is when they built Hamilton Place. I was in high school when they built it. I remember them building the mall because we had Eastgate Mall up to that point, and that's the one I went to as a kid. Now it's like turned into office space. I don't even know if the mall section of the mall still exists at all or not through the center. I don't even know. I haven't been in there in decades. But yeah, now it's like insurance companies and all sorts of stuff are in there. But that was the mall we went to, and it was like a single level floor plan, and it was like the place to go. That's where Mama would take me as a little kid to get the Santa Claus pictures and the Easter Bunny photos. They'd always set that up in there. And that was where the Woolworths was at. I remember that. It's really neat to go down memory lane a little like that occasionally. But let's see. I have dropped 0 frames too. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this is dead. Figures. All right. But when they built Hamilton Place, that was in the 80s, it was 2-story, and it was open air atrium inside with, and you could look down to the first floor. It was like we had stepped into the 21st century. It was incredible to go there. We had a Wolf camera. I was always infatuated by it. I never really bought much from them. At the time, I wasn't real well versed in photographic equipment, and I didn't really understand it like I do now. Looking back, I wished I did, because that was in the 80s. So, they were still working with really nice film cameras. The F3 was probably the current machine when they opened. Man, to go back in time knowing I could get a Nikon F3 brand new. Wow. That would have been epic. Ray says, August 5th, 1987, Hamilton Place Mall was built. Well, that was the year I graduated. So it must have been okay. I guess that was when they opened it. Albert says, we have too many ghost towns across America. We don't need any more. Yeah, but the mega store was the next evolution from the mall. But it was, Walmart geared it towards the average working person product, like stuff they use, the most common purchased items by the average person. That was their target audience when they got going. You could tell, because the things you could find at Walmart were like really common items. It wasn't anything special like a 100 millimeter macro lens, or a lens adapter to convert it from M42 to L mount. You couldn't get that, but you could get like a pack of film, or get your pictures developed, or Tupperware bowls. At the time they didn't have grocery stores in them. It was at that point, but you could get motor oil, you could get your prescriptions, and first aid stuff or whatever, and dog food or things like that. Yeah, you could get common stuff. And then it kind of evolved from that. And then the internet and Jeff Bezos started out with a bookstore. I'm pretty sure Amazon was like a bookstore to begin with. And then it just kind of evolved. Ray says his first camera was bought at Wolf. He bought a Nikon D50 in the 70-300. That's awesome. Bass Angler says, we're going to a store-less system. In a few years, everything will be ordered online and delivered or picked up, in my opinion anyway. I believe you're getting there. Now, some stuff, it just doesn't make sense to do that with. That's why hardware stores are still alive, because people need hardware now. They don't want to wait 3 days to fix their leaky gutter because they've got it took apart today. They need to finish it today. So hardware stores fill that sense of immediacy clause. They come to find out, people need stuff soon, and that gives them that ability. I can actually type pretty fast if I put my fingers in the right spots. I don't use all my fingers. I type with like 3 fingers on one hand, and the 4 and the thumb does the wrong stuff. It's weird how you learn how to do stuff. But can I? No, none of that I want to do. Boss lady in the house. Dang, I've done clicked on this stupid thing. I'm trying to get it unclicked. The hat says, that's what he is thinking. I used the XT2 to do some video on the weekend. Oh, it hasn't pushed up on me. Hold on. On the weekend, and I don't find it as intuitive to use as my old Nikon. Yeah, I never was able to get the video functions on my XT3 to work like I wanted them to. I just never did. I messed with it a little bit. It's kind of like filming with these. Filming with a Leica works, but it's kind of clunky. It really is. The cameras are meant to take stills. They add the video features because people want it, but it's almost an afterthought. It really, I mean, like I've got a manual focus lens on this so that I know that it's in focus. It does a really good job. Since it has a full-size HDMI output, it don't have the mini. It has the big boy one, which is really nice. But you have to have one of them to be able to do some good with it. So, and even this little guy has a no. It'll capture video, but it does not have an output. There's no external jacks on the CL, so you can film with it. And I have shot a little video with the CL on YouTube videos where I was shooting my videos with this little guy and it would go dead. And I'd finish the video with the CL. I'd set it up on the tripod or set it on something steady so it would capture a clean, smooth video. It worked pretty good for that. So as long as the camera was static and wasn't moving, it did all right. But yeah, I never really used my XT3 to do video. It just didn't seem like it worked super well. It worked okay, but it wasn't the greatest thing. It was better at photos. That's some fast typing. All right, everybody. Reach down and click that thumb up doohickey. That's supposed to tell more people that there's a stream going on or something, and YouTube's computer in the background that works with the terminators will actually tell people the video exists or the stream exists. So yeah, y'all turn on that like button for me. More of them is better. The hat, just be completely fiscal irresponsible and get a Z9. Ray did. Works great for him. Yeah. He's virtuoso. Oh, if I could justify it, I would. I am also pondering a new guitar, and I suspect my wife's tolerance has limits. You talking about an electric guitar or an acoustic guitar? Because my dad had two brands. If he was picking acoustic guitars, it was Martin, and if it was electric guitars, it was Fender. He really liked old Fender Telecasters. Now, he did like Paul Reed Smith's guitars. He had a couple of them too. But yeah, he was real big into them Telecasters, like the early ones, made in USA Teles and Martins. He loved them Martin guitars. Very tempting. Get the Eddie Van Halen Wolfgang. Your wife will love the $4,000 guitar. All right. Let's see. I got a lens to review that I'm writing the script on. I make my notes in here. My ink pen went dead today, and I had to put a new core in it. Got it back up and running. This is one of those. This happened because of Phil Thatch. He got an email from Pergear about this lens, and I don't remember his reason for not accepting their offer. I think he was too busy. I don't remember for sure, but they wanted to send him this lens to review it. And what it is, it's a 18 millimeter fixed f8 aperture, and it has this tilt shift functionality. All right, you can shift it off axis, and that allows you to do like architectural photography and bend the converging lines back into parallel lines to some degree. It doesn't have a lot of functionality or travel. It's got like 6 millimeters in each direction off axis, and you can index the whole mechanism in 45-degree steps, so you can do horizontal or vertical or even angular if you wanted to. But what this works out for is this is native like a L mount. On the CL, it's like a 27 millimeter lens equivalent, or 28 basically. So this, put on the CL, there we go, line up the little red arrows, center it up, set the focus to about, focus is here, yeah. Actually, we turn this 90 degrees, there we go. And there's the focus indicator, is 90 degrees out. But set it to about 1 meter, and basically at f8, everything in front of the camera is in focus. So now you just don't hit the focus. You just take photos. Street photography. Look how small it is. That's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to do a segment with this, set up like this, because it's 28 millimeter equivalent. If you watch all them guys shooting them Leica film cameras, they're all running the 28 millimeter Summicron. But they're running it stop down. This is f8 already. That's what I normally stop down to when I'm doing street photography. So, yeah, I'm curious to see how that performs in that role. Leica makes a little 18 millimeter pancake for the CL. I just never bought one because they're kind of expensive, and I've just never shot with a real wide angle. But I think that's going to be a pretty cool application for it. And then I'm going to put it on the SL2, because this is a full frame lens, and do some architecture with it, so I can show that it will fix the converging lines. I've already took a few photos today with it, playing with it, and it works. It actually works pretty good. It has a few little issues. That'll all be in the video. But yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty cool little package. Now, put my little lens cap on it. Yeah, but Phil gave me the hookup of those guys, and they sent me out a lens, so I'm doing a lens review. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate that. When you watch the stream, and you'll watch it, and you'll hit the like button. Uh-oh. I've lost audio. Or video. Let me take out the dead battery. Where's the button? There it is. Put in the power source. Let's see if that juices it back up. Let's see if it comes back on. Hey, I'm back. All right. Battery's dead. How long does the stream run? 42 minutes of video, and the battery is depleted. Is this the actual Nikon battery? No, this is the aftermarket battery. These will normally run about 75% of the time of the Nikon equivalent. They're real cheap, but yeah, I don't get like 1-for-1 runtime. But they work good. I use them normally when I'm taking photos with it. They run really well. But yeah, I get about 75% of the cycle time with them. But now I'm on that power pack. Put that in the charger. So now I got the really cool trick of that. Let's see. I got to back up in time. Y'all got a lot of chat going on. The hat says, I'm leaning towards a 1993 Paul Reed Smith Custom 22 with the proper hardtail bridge on it and the original Dragon pickups. I've lusted after one since I played one as a kid. Buy it. If you'll play it, buy it. There is nothing wrong with having nice equipment if you use it. Buying it to look at is not cool. I mean, if that's what makes you happy, okay, but buy it and use it if that's what you want. I have no regrets. There's better technical cameras out there. Hence the reason that I'm really jonesing over one of them Z9s at some point to put on my 500, which is probably the way that'll go eventually. But for now, I like those, and this Z50 works really well. The hat says, in tonight's stream, David transforms into the Nikon utility webcam. Will he be able to change back? Find out on this exciting installment of The Georgia Photographer. There's a girl that does these voiceover things like she's the telephone server, like the automated attendant on the telephone. And she does these voiceovers of random things. And the other day she did one for Darth Vader. And it was Vader International or Vader Enterprises or something like that. Formerly the Death Star. It was hilarious. If you are a rebel, or if you are a rebel scum, please hold, and we will get your exact coordinates for something special. That was a good one, Hat. I used to be the... Also, I should point out that I don't have a wife or any responsibilities to anyone, and I'm naturally a born instigator. I'm going to view some of Dave's Vintage Lens reviews because I'm a huge fan of the vintage optics. That's awesome. I'm starting to actually get into the ones that I have now, and like this Pentax. And I'm going to use it on these newer camera bodies because there's IBIS in this one, and shoot with it some and see how it performs on here. Because the last camera body I reviewed that lens on, I'm pretty sure was the Z6, and that was several years ago. But yeah, I've got quite a few vintage lenses. Like there's a 105 f4 macro sitting right there, and the 20mm f2.8D. Next to it is a 50 f1.4, and I think it's the AI. It ain't an AIS, I know. I got the 105 f2. There's a Yashica lens sitting there on an adapter. And that's just and there's a bunch more, but there's an old Leica R mount 135mm right back there. That I have an adapter to put it on that camera. It just goes from R to L. Yeah, I got a bunch of that stuff. There's a vintage 28 f3.5 that I actually like to shoot with a pretty good bit. It has this cool square hood. It's an old Pentax Asahi, or Asahi optical. It's one of them. I think the 24 was what got me started here too. This 24? The 24 f2.8? Or was it the 28? The 24, I've had this lens forever. And it's got some like issues, you know, there's imperfections because it's a fairly old design. I think this is pre-AI. I'm pretty sure it's not AIS. Yeah, it's not. It's either AI or pre-AI. I don't remember. The color scheme doesn't tell me, but it doesn't have the machine cuts for the AIS series, so it's older than that. I'd have to look the serial number up. It's 665,950, so it's fairly old. But yeah, this lens is the one I had on the D810 when I was streaming with it out of the machine shop office. Same lens. That lens just works really good for that. The Super Takimers, those are nice glass. You know, this is a Honeywell Pentax 105, there's 100mm f4 macro. You know, this is how far the zoom ring goes. If I start zooming out, it's almost a full revolution, and it doubles the length of the lens. That is some fine focus right there, and that's incredibly close focusing. This is a really nice macro lens. And it has the little friction caps, and this one's been dropped and dented. It's not square anymore, but it works still. I've used this to shoot product photos. It works really well for that. You guys are still talking about guitar gear. The 5150 Stealth half stack. Nah, just get a bunch of Marshalls. Be done with it. Huge Marshall stack always solves your problems. I think we could put the half stack in the kitchen. Play in the kitchen. There's a problem. It needs to be addressed. You can knock dishes out of the cabinets at half volume. You guys are having way too much fun with this. The bokeh on the Pentax is a little more cat eye than the Nikkor lenses from the photos I've seen. I've never noticed that. I'll have to look at that now. Let's see, sorry about this. This is the 28 millimeter that I have. This lens is really, really nice. It's got this really cool square lens hood, but it's got a little friction lock deal. If you unlock it, you can just slide it off. It's M42 mount. It just screws into this. Then I've got these Photocy M42 to Leica L mount adapters, but it's a f3.5 to f16. This thing takes beautiful photos. Clear glass, but it's small. Look how small the rear element is. Like, there's my fingernail for comparison. It's just tiny. That's what f3.5 will gain you. It makes for a small, compact, and lightweight lens. Even with the adapter, which is aluminum, it's not heavy. But yeah, that's one of my favorite lenses. I keep all of my favorites kind of here. I got a bunch more over there. There's a lot of 50s, 55s, 58s and junk in that cabinet. And then there's a few odd ones, but yeah. Ray Soldano says, I want a Soldano amp and speaker cabinet just because it has my last name on it. I can't play an instrument to save my life, though. You could, like, pipe in the TV's audio into it. Run it through a mixer board and feed it into the amplifier. The neighbors will hear the movie. Be like going to the theaters with that Dolby sound where it shakes the room. Interesting. I didn't know that. All the Marshalls I ever seen were bomb proof. I guess you're talking about the Marshall amplifiers too. I don't know whose amplifiers they were running. I knew a couple of guys when I lived over in Lafayette that had big Marshall speaker cabinets. I don't remember if they were running the Marshall amp as well or if they had a different brand. The most common amp I saw in Lafayette, because there was a lot of guys that I knew over there that played music, and they were trying to get bands going and stuff. I was their technical smart guy. Like, I understood how to fix their patch cords and how the sound worked in a room. I bought the sound reinforcement handbook from Yamaha and read it and learned how to do that crap. So I was the guy that ran the sliders and crap. But it was all right. But they run PV everything. Everything was PV. Most of it. When I was in trade school, Daddy bought a tube final transistor preamp. I don't remember what brand it was. It was a big PA head. No, I take that back. This one didn't have vacuum tubes. He had two. He had one that had vacuum tubes that he actually played music with in a band. And then he bought this other one. I don't remember what brand it was now, but it was just a power amplifier. And it had a whole bunch of big TO3 power transistors in it. And it didn't work. He got a good deal in it. It barely put out sound, but the sound was clean, which told us the final amplifier modules or something of that nature was bad. So I took it to the trade school and we tore it all apart and went through it with a oscilloscope and found all the bad stuff and fixed it. Man, it worked like a dream. That was really fun. I'm reading comments. There's a lot going on here. Ray Bass Angler says, Ray, yes, you have a famous last name. The hat says he's not a big fan of Marshall either. He said there was a lovely late 80s valve state which was very good, but I tend to favor Laney usually. I'm looking at a nice Black Star valve preamp, I'm assuming for recording though. And valves for the uninitiate are tubes, vacuum tubes. I don't know who coined the term valve, if it's a British term for the same thing or what, but like power amplifiers and amateur radio and radio in general, all the big PA in them, the final amplifiers and the RF decks are usually vacuum tubes, even today. It's real common to see vacuum tubes driving the final amplifiers, and especially all the big radio transmitters. They're almost all vacuum tube, giant vacuum tubes, very, very giant, like the size of a refrigerator. Vacuum tubes, big ones. That kind of crap scares people, you know. When you got a 500,000 watts passing through a transmitter, you need a vacuum tube that can drag that crap around. Ray says, everyone hates on Peavey stuff, but I just replaced a rack-mounted mixer last month that was Peavey. It had a manufacturing date sticker on it from 1986. That's almost, 40 years? 35 years? Good Lord. It's 23, another 14. That's, yeah. That's like 37 years. That's a long time ago. That's pretty good life. The hat says Peavey made some darn good kit, though they had the sense to listen to Eddie when he was tinkering with them. There's two conversations flowing in the chat right now. Albert says, he's talking to John, he says, I love adapting medium format lenses to the 35mm camera platform because I get the sharpness and contrast from the center of the lens to the edges, especially with the Pentax 6.7 lenses. I've seen those lenses. They're enormous. And I get the point. It's like putting full frame glass on an APS-C. You get the exact same effect. You're cheating essentially. You know, like this 28 on my CL is equivalent to about a 40 something millimeter. You know, you got 14 on top, like a 42 millimeter. So it's a good walk around lens. And if I shoot it like stop down to f5.6 or f8 for street, then it's a good focal length and a good aperture. And I'm cutting out the center of the projection because this is full frame. So any problems in the corners, it's just trimming that off for me. And yeah, this makes a pretty good lens in that regard. Yeah, that's a good idea. It really is. You guys are having way too much fun with this guitar music. All right, I need to keep talking because some people listen to these and I don't need to just sit here with dead air while I'm looking. Let me look at what I had. Something else I was looking at. Where'd it go? I'm going to switch us back over to this. We were talking at one point about this Mickey lens, Mikey, I don't know the pronunciation. 85 f1.8. Now, you think it's pretty slow compared to the Nikon f1.2, and you would be right. You're looking at a full stop of difference there, but honestly, what you're going to gain a much larger lens. The two lenses compared, the Nikkor f1.2 is going to be significantly larger. It's also going to be significantly more expensive because it's a lot more work to produce a lens of that magnitude. Like right here's all these views. I don't think I can click on, or can I? Yeah, it's going to bring them up. Yeah, the Nikkor version of this is like twice this long, and it's a lot larger in diameter because the lens elements have to be bigger. That's just a fact. And with a bigger lens element system, that means the mass that you move to focus it is larger and heavier, so it takes a larger focus motor to drive that, so you can get fast focus. Everything about it just grows, and with larger lens elements comes more expensive lenses. To make the bigger pieces of glass takes bigger machines, takes more precise machines because it's easier to make mistakes. There's a lot more surface area that you have to get optically perfect. The coatings have to be applied over a larger area. It just compounds all the problems. And for the average person, you're not going to really notice that stop. Because if you're shooting wide open, the depth of field at 1.2 is going to be so shallow, like the tip of the nose will be blurry and the eyeball will be in focus. Well, this ain't very fast to load. I thought these would toggle through a lot quicker. You can see the aperture right there. Oh, it's scrolling in the background. I thought it would zoom in. It looks like a 9-blade aperture. That's going to give cool light stars if it is. Yeah, 9 blades. Got an odd number aperture will give you cool light stars. It doesn't, typically you get good light stars like that. It doesn't say if they're rounded blades, but it didn't look like it was in the picture. Where it stopped down. Yeah, they're fairly straight, so it'll make pretty cool light stars. What's this one? That's weird. The light must have been sitting on a light table and the light shining up from the bottom to make it do that. Okay. But yeah. Features a micro USB port so you can upgrade the firmware in the lens. That's the only thing about third-party lenses, to upgrade the firmware in a native lens, you just put it on the camera. And you use the camera to upgrade the firmware. At least that's the way you do it on Leica. You mount your lenses. Once you upgrade the firmware in the camera, you mount all the lenses, and the lens firmware is saved in the camera's firmware package in Leica. So you just mount the lens, turn the camera on, it updates firmware. If it needs it. If there is a firmware update. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But yeah, f1.8s is plenty wide enough to do portraiture. You will get beautiful bokeh with that. It says wide aperture with 9 diaphragm blades designed to produce super smooth round blur effect bokeh. Those didn't look like round aperture blades in my book. It looked good though. I'd be curious to see some photos. Oh boy, here's where all the fun's at. If you buy cheap, you buy twice. It has a real metal mount. Must be a pro lens. Oh boy. I can see this going downhill and so fast. So that is $200 with autofocus. I don't really need an 85, but at that price I'm tempted since it would be handy occasionally. I'm very curious to see how good that thing could be for just $200. And that's a good point. I like that because not everybody shoots with like an 85 millimeter regularly. So it's a good point to be able to think about if you just want to get one out occasionally and it sits on a shelf most of the time. Then you could grab this one, do whatever photos that you would normally do with an 85, and then set it back on the shelf. This guy says he bought the Viltrox 8518 for the Z with autofocus, and it was 5 times that price. The Viltrox was $1,000. Well, you can get the 85Z f1.8 for about $800. Oh, then he's saying after watching the pictures of the Sigma Lens Factory Tour on DP Review, how can they make lenses that cheap when, and that's, yeah, and he caught that. You mean 1.5 times? Okay. Yeah, the Nikon one brand new is only like $800. Uh-oh. Martin Wong says, wait, I thought third-party makers, that's what is supposed to be there, are not allowed to make lenses that are also the same as the existing Nikon lens. Well, once you let the cat out of the bag on the mount technology, then somebody leaks it to a smaller third-party maker, all bets are off. I think there's a third party and a third party. This one guy says, I think there are third party and third party. Sigma and Tamron could be strong competitors in specs, quality, and price, whereas Mackie and other Chinese brands don't play in the same league. Nikon wants to avoid the first category because they can eat many sales. A buyer of a Mackie lens probably would never buy the S lens anyway. That's a good point. They'll buy that Mackie lens just to experiment because it's cheap enough. That's a good point. These are pretty good little comments. This is where all the fun is always. Foo, just another cheap China. What? 200 quid? Okay, now that's a bargain. His name is Duncan Idaho. Now, I don't know if there's anything to do with Idaho in the UK, but he referenced quid, which is a specifically United Kingdom monetary measurement that nobody in the United States uses. So that's why I say I don't know if there's something to do with Idaho and England. That's kind of odd. Ooh, sorry about that. Yeah, the live stream has run over an hour with 0 drop frames. So I figured out my problem. Eliminate the capture card. Okay. But yeah, that was something interesting. I was really interested in that. Let's just go here and check this out. I'm curious. We're going to leave one site and go check out how much do you pay for a Z9 today. $5,500 is the add to cart price for a Z9 body today. Okay. This was something, someone left a comment on my stream from last week about the Z8. I want to address this while I'm here. They said, let me just see if I can find it and pull it up. Let's see. Open another tab. Pull up comments. Let's just try that. Well, go to YouTube. Let me switch back over to me. Okay. While let's see if it'll load. Because right now it's not. I've got this the page isn't available. Sorry about that. Apparently I have bookmarked a page that is dead now. It's still trying to load the page. If it will ever load. If you haven't done it yet, hit the like button. I'm just going to say that right quick. click this. Come on, come on, come on. Click this. There you go. What I'm trying to do is get over to my studio. There we go. Now it's got to load YouTube Studio, and then I can get to the comments. But the gist of the comment is he went through a lot of explaining about where it fits in the lineup and how much the price should be and what sensor it'll use and what technology it'll have driving the sensor, the processor it'll be driven with, things like that. And he said, and it'll come in around, I think he said $3,500, $3,700, somewhere in there. And that makes sense for it to come in at about 37, because the Z7 comes in the high twos. All right, I'm almost there. All right. Wow, this is buried so deep. All right, it's almost. Let me turn off that function. I'm still loading it. There it goes. All right. Yeah, here we go. It says the following. Here, let me switch over so you can see it. These are on the back side of the website. So that you can see here, and I wrote him back, but it says the Nikon Z7 II sells for $2,990, basically $3,000. The Z9 is $5,500. The Z8 with the Z7 backside illuminated sensor and the Z9 processor makes more sense. They can make it shutterless because it has the Z9 processor, and 8K 30 frames and 4K 120 frames and 15 frames per second continuous shooting in still mode with improved autofocus and price for $3,600 is his estimation. Let me pull this one down. The Z7 II and Z9 have a big gap in terms of specs and price. Basically, they've built the gap in for the Z8 is what they've done. And I agree with him. I think they've done that on purpose. It says they need at least 2 FX cameras to fill the gap between the Z7 II and the Z9, and 2 DX cameras too. Priority is the Z8. He's saying the Z6 III can be the next, can be next the camera after the Z8. Now, I don't know if there's needing to be 2 cameras between the Z7 II and the Z9. I think one fits in there just fine. You start getting, if you put 2, then what you're going to have is you're going to have them so incrementally spaced out that the dealers are not going to know which one to stock to sell to people. You need enough step space between them to make it make sense. Because if you put 2 cameras between the Z7 II and the Z9, there's $1,500 of breathing room between them 2 cameras. If you put 2 in there, you're putting one at 35 and one at 45 and one at there's $2,500 worth of room. Excuse me, not $1,500. But if you put one, you put it in right at about 4K, 4,200, somewhere in there, and then it makes sense to step from there. It's another $1,200-$1,300 to a Z9. To where, it just don't make sense to me to make it 3,500. I think or 36 is what he's marketing it as. 36 just seems like you're not getting enough for what you're paying for with a Z8. If it just has the Z7 sensor and the Z9 processor so it can do faster video, I mean, people don't buy these cameras for video. They really don't. Nobody I know buys Nikon cameras for the video. They buy them for the photos that I'm aware of. I mean, people use them to shoot video. Like Phil shoots his Z6 for video regularly, and it works great. But he's not buying the Z8 when it drops on launch day for the video. No, I'm just not aware of anybody doing that. But you can see where I talk about my steppings and all that sort of jazz. But when you get up there into the high threes, close to $4,000, you're so close to a Z9, there really isn't any. If you're willing to drop $4,000 on a camera body, what's another $1,500? I mean, honestly, that's it. If you're willing to go that high as it is, you can go just a little more and get the flagship, and they're in stock now, as we saw literally right here. We got add to cart, and it's $54.96. So it's literally, you can get the best for just a little bit more, and that you've got the best camera then. I mean, I just, it's an odd space for that camera to fall into, but there does need to be a mid-range machine. But I think it should be closer. It's just odd. It's hard to say where that needs to be. They'll sell some of them, but which other model are they going to cannibalize to sell Z8s? Do you think they'll lose Z7 II sales, or will they lose Z9 sales to the Z8s? Oh boy, there's a lot been going on in this chat while I've been rambling. Let's see here. Okay, trying to catch up. The hat says, can confirm there is no Idaho in the UK. Oh, they're still talking about Guitar Legends. Bass Angler says, I just want a Z500. I honestly think that there might be a Z55 or a Z70 or something like that that'll be the D500 killer. I'm thinking they're working on that because they've got a tall order to fill with that camera. They need the focus system probably out of the Z9 to drive that camera. And that's where that'll be. Maybe it'll be the Z50 Mark II. I don't know. But a Z70 would probably be a pretty good choice. That would be the Z equivalent of a D7000, pretty much. I think that's basically what's happening there. It seems like they're slowly morphing all of the DSLR model numbers into the Z model numbers, slowly but surely. And they've got a few discrepancies, but they, for the most part, kind of line up. And it seems to be like they're fleshing them out that way. I'm just catching up on comments. These guys have been wearing it out. Albert says, David Sailors, what are your favorite vintage lenses? All right, I can do that. One of them, a lot of them are M42 mount, Asahi optical, Pentax Asahi, Super Tacomers. They're all basically the same, but I really like them, and I like vintage Leica lenses. Of course, who doesn't like vintage Leica lenses? But not the screw mount ones. And I really don't care for the M's all that much. I haven't really messed with them enough though to give that a fair shake. But I like the R mount stuff. I've got 2 or 3 of them up there. I've got an R camera, but it don't use those lenses. Leica R lenses are so convoluted that even the boys at Leica Store Miami with their podcast, what's it called, Red Dot Forum, they don't even want to do a video on it because it's so convoluted. But I I really like these Pentax or Asahi Optical. I really like their glass. That stuff is beautiful glass. It's these are made in the '60s and they're just beautiful, gorgeous pieces of equipment. And I like vintage Nikkor stuff a lot. I really do. I got quite a few vintage Nikkors. Like right here is a. Sorry about bumping the mic there. I'm pretty sure this is a 50 f1.4. Yeah, and it's so old. It's got the blue 16, which, if you know anything about the color coding, it tells you how old it is. It does have the aperture drive right here, which I think means it's AI, auto indexing. That's what AI meant. And what that meant was it indexed the aperture ring. As you turned the aperture, it told the camera what aperture you were on by a little lever that stuck out of the mount, and this little flange right here would catch that lever and drive it as you turn the aperture ring. So you had to reset the aperture when you mounted the lens so that it wouldn't hit that lever in the middle of this and bend it. You had to put the lens on a certain way. I think you stopped it all the way, you opened it all the way up. Then you mounted it and locked it, and then you could stop it down, and it wouldn't damage anything. They changed that at some point to where it didn't matter and you couldn't do it wrong. But the early cameras, you had to be careful about that. I remember that. But yeah, I like old Nikkor and old Pentax Asahi. Mainly 50s, 55s. I did have a 55mm f3.5 macro Nikkor. That lens took beautiful photos. But I wanted the 2.8, so I sold it to get a 2.8, and I just ain't bought a 2.8 yet. I think Grant has one. He has a 2.8. I'm pretty sure I shot with it. Took beautiful photos. I think I did a review on it. Pentax has phenomenal optics. Yeah, it does. Panasonic has the edge over a lot of others in that their bodies don't tend to heat up as much during prolonged shooting. That's interesting. Let's see. This one's a little warm, Z50, but it's not actually capturing video. It's in standby mode, and I'm outputting that feed straight to the computer through USB. So it's not really working. It's just projecting the information through the processor, and then it's turning it into a digital signal. It's not making the video information. It's sending it as a, what do you call it, a digital signal. I don't remember what the word for that is. I like Nikon too, but the people are so into video. Yeah, a lot more people want to shoot video with their camera, and that's fair. I mean, the cameras today take great video if you know how to drive the machine. I was out today trying to shoot a little bit of video footage for that lens review that I was talking about earlier, and the sun kept peeping out from behind the clouds. If it's overcast, I can get away without having a key light or a reflector to kick light on me. But if I wear a hat in the direct sun, it casts a huge shadow over my face, so I look like a informant doing an interview. I've got this huge shadow from the brim of my hat because of the sun, and so all that footage is pretty well scrapped. So I stopped. Once I realized what it was doing, I reviewed some of the footage and saw it, and I was like, yeah, this is just terrible. And I don't know if I'll be able to pull it out in post-processing. So I just stopped, went and started writing more notes about, script notes. But yeah, they take good video though. But I'll tell you what's shocking is the video that these new iPhones capture. This is the brand newest of the new. I don't remember what model it is. I think it's a 14. But it takes such good video that it's almost cheating. It really does. It's sad. They've got it computationally built in to where it'll fix the shadows automatically. It's incredible how good the video out of this device is, to the point that I may film my YouTube videos with some of that. If I could get it out of the camera easy. That's the only hiccup is downloading it from the phone into the computer. And so I normally edit on a PC, so I have to download it some other way. And I wind up sending it over AirDrop, one file at a time, and then saving them to this ancient memory card, which becomes my sneaker drive, where I'll walk it from that computer in here and plug it into this one so I can get them into the computer. That's the reason I don't shoot with a phone, is the file transfer is painful, to where I can just pull the memory card out of these cameras, plug it in the computer, and download them. Mallory at Woody says, you gave me a plug tonight on Peter's. Oh, that's right. Peter streams on Friday nights. I forgot about that. Thank you. Young people are so into video. I love the contrast of the Nikon AIS lenses. It's awesome. I got the Magic lens. I'm going to step away from the camera and talk. Let's see. Right here, I have, let me sit back down. I have so many adapters. Most of them are Fuji. Yeah, this is Fuji X mount from, this is a Canon FD mount. It's got the switch lock deal. Breech lock. But AIS lens, the Magic. Bass Angler gave me the hookup, sent me the lens hood. This is actual lens hood for it. But yeah, the 28mm AIS, the Magic lens. That's supposed to be the stuff right there. But yeah, I don't know where he found this lens hood, but this thing fits this 28 perfectly. Thanks, Bass Angler, for the lens hood. That was epic. But yeah, that's cool. AIS, one of my favorite lenses. I have a lot of favorite lenses. Bass Angler says, where's the cat? She's outside. She goes out at night, and she wanted to go out earlier, so Teresa let her out. Yeah, normally she sleeps right there on the bed. She'll find her a spot. She'll go over in that corner if she has to. If I've got crap on the bed, she'll root around until she finds her a spot. Peter said he hadn't heard from you in a while. Yeah, here lately I haven't been able to get online on Friday evenings a lot. I've been doing stuff with the family and things, so I haven't been available to get on streams. Does he still do those super long marathon streams? Totally agree on the iPhone video. Yeah, it's good if you can just get it out of the phone. That's my only hang up, is downloading it from the phone. Better late than never. See disciple. No problem. Use Photo Pro. Albert says, we still photographers of a bygone era have fallen out of favor because of all that video, because it's all about video. LOL. The hat says, that's one of the reasons I love shooting film still. It'll only ever be stills. I need to process a couple of rolls of HP5 tomorrow. Now, I was going to, now down to 1 to 1.5 hours now. Okay. I'll try to log into one of his then. He's probably done with his by now then. C2C says, I took a 28 AIS and used a BR2A bellows adapter. I have a bellows adapter. And connected a 200mm to it and shot a couple of macro photos with the 28. I've got, somebody's made up a widget to reverse lenses that'll fit the thread mount. It's floating around here. It's in there. Pretty sure. But it came with some stuff I had. I'm thinking it's a Nikon mount. But the hat's going to develop some HP5 tomorrow. I've been shooting HP5, and all of it's in the other room. I have the cameras on the kitchen table. I've been carrying it with me. I've got a R8, a Leica R8 film camera. You can Google it. They're super epic cameras. Let's see here. If I open another tab. There we go. If you've never seen an R8, let's see what we got here. Mine's all black. I don't have the two-tone one. I wished I did. I like the two-tone camera colors. Somebody just hit the repeater. I haven't heard anybody on the repeater in days. Finally got my 1 1/4 meter antenna. Yeah, here we go. That's a Leica R8. This one has the silver top half. Mine's black on top. Beautiful cameras. It looks funny, but to hold it in your hand, it is shockingly comfortable. Mine has this lever broke off. Unfortunately, that's the double exposure lever. Mine's currently in single exposure mode, so it takes pictures perfectly, but that's why I got such a good deal in it, was this little lever's broke off, so I can't do double exposures with mine. But I didn't think that lens would work on it, just to tell you the truth. That has me curious, because I thought it took R mount only or Gen 3 lenses. That's a Gen 2 or a Gen 1 lens, because I got some of them. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, that's the back. Under this little door is your ISO, manual ISO, and I don't remember what the other one does. It says it right there in that picture. But it's got like this little LCD display. It'll tell you in this square, it tells you what frame you're on. And there's some other, like the data for like the exposure pops in here. It also pops up in the bottom of the display when you look through the viewfinder. But yeah, they got a roll of Ilford in it. But it's DX coding, so it reads the film canister, so you don't have to tell it what ISO you're using. This is a good view to let you see the camera and its ergonomics. The camera's manual focus. So you have to be able to reach it with your left hand up to the aperture ring and the focus ring. You can like stop it all the way down and then put this into program mode, or I don't remember what T and F mean. That's M is manual. I use aperture priority most of the time, like he's got it set now. P is program. T, I think it's timer. And F, I don't remember what F means. I just don't remember. I'd have to look. I got the owner's manual saved to my phone, they clearance the camera over here so that your hand can reach these two knobs easily and it's comfortable. And then this grip area profile, there's a bump for the thumb, and then it's got a finger grip region, and then you can see it's beveled so your index finger rolls up naturally and just rests comfortably on the shutter release. This thing, you snap this out and it can be popped out for advancing the film. But dude, this thing is so comfortable to shoot with. It's big, but it's comfortable. It's incredibly comfortable. Until you use one, you just don't understand it. And then, of course, this is the battery compartment. I took the door off of it last week, showed you where I changed the batteries in mine. But yeah, I'm kind of sus about this lens. I'm pretty sure that lens ain't supposed to be on it. Oh, yeah, and you could buy the digital back for it, and it was $6,000 for it. I don't even know what the R8 sold for new. Man, they did a huge write-up on it. They shot a bunch of black and white film with it. That's pretty cool. This is a cool article. I'll actually read this when I get done with you guys. but that's my Leica film camera. But I got mine for like $600 because that little advanced lever was broke off of it. You know, they're a couple $100 more if you want to have double exposure mode. I've never shot double exposures, so I was like, yeah, that's a non-issue for me. The R9 was the last film camera they made. It was the one right after this one. They never got to the 10 that I'm aware of. Now they've made a bunch of M's, but I think they were still making the M's up into the 2000s. I'm pretty sure they didn't stop production on them until after 2000. Because they made the M7 was a fully electronic M film camera. And I don't remember if the M8 was digital or film. The M9's digital. I know that for sure. But I don't know what the M8 is. It's in that transition. I don't shoot M's, so I don't really know. I know the M10 is digital, and it's really, really, really top tier. Get my chat box back. My wife has an FE and pulled some film out of the fridge to thaw, so we shall see what develops. Nice. Man, I've got my exposed films back here in a bag. Once I finish the rolls in the camera, I'm going to send it off. That's the only thing I've been sitting on is I want to finish the roll in the camera, and it's taken me 2 months to shoot that roll of film. And I've been carrying it diligently for the last week and actually photographing stuff with it so I can just finish the roll. But the batteries went dead, and I put new batteries in it, so it reset the frame counter, so I don't know how many frames are left. So I just got to be careful as I wind it and wind till I hit resistance. You know, once I'm at the end of the film roll, it'll hit resistance where it's taped onto the spool, and I'll stop, and then I'll have to rewind it. But yeah, until that, I'm just counting the frames manually. I think it's back up to 20. So I was apparently less than halfway through the roll. I've got to be getting close to the end. I'm kind of wanting to see what's on all this film. I've got a year's worth of it in that bag I haven't sent off yet. It ain't as bad as Matt Day. If you go back a few months to one of his videos where he had his film that he hadn't sent off, and he had a Ziploc bag that probably had 100 rolls of film in it. It was a bunch of it. It was going to cost a small mint to develop that. But I send mine off. The main reason is I kept getting dust on my negatives. I don't have a dust-free enough environment for it to not be frustrating. Very frustrating. And what I learned was I can develop it, and I always dried it in the shower. I got a little separate shower on the other end of the house, and that room is the least dusty due to the humidity. And I'd hang it up in there to dry, and that would work out. But then when I go in to like try and scan it, I would end up every single time getting dust on it, transferring it across. So what I'll do is Memphis Film Labs, I'll have them develop it and scan it. So they'll do it, and there won't be no dust. You know, and I'll get those scans from them. Save me the headache of trying to fight the dust. The XD4 is well suited to stills, and I think there's a sub model of the A7 which is more stills focused, but there's not much else. Oh yeah, M8 had a CCD sensor. Okay, so it was the one that had the sensor that corroded. That was a big problem with Leicas. So it was the M8s that had that. But yeah, that was the first digital ones then, and it had a CCD sensor, and they had corrosion problems, and it would just destroy the sensor. And they had a program where you could send it in for a long time, and they would replace it for free. And then they finally shut down the program. So now if you've got an M8 and the sensor corrodes, I think there's some third parties that can work on it and maybe replace it with something else. But Leica won't do it now. You're just out. Indeed, the CCD M8 was an interesting sensor. It was something like a 1.3 crop factor. And also they say that the colors out of them CCD sensors were phenomenal. That it actually was better than the CMOS sensors that came out later. We have successfully went an hour and 39 minutes on attempt 3 of the live stream. Have to wet my throat occasionally. All right, let me think about this. We've talked about everything I wanted to cover tonight. I try to make sure I don't miss something. I mentioned the lens. We talked about the DP review. Oh dear, it's nearly 3 a.m. here. I think I need to get some sleep. Good night, all. Yeah, it's literally 11 p.m. or 2300 here. So that's what I was thinking too. I think I'm gonna go to sleep here in a few minutes. But guys, it's been a lot of fun. Michael Senecal. If y'all haven't done it yet, hit the like button. The D200 is a CCD sensor. Okay, I had one of them. I had 2 of them at one point actually. You can buy the D200 for nothing, like a little over $100. You can get a nice D200. John Larson says, have you tried Cat Labs film yet? No, I haven't. All I've shot is Ilford HP5 and nothing else in this camera. I bought 20 rolls of Ilford HP5 a few years ago because I figured film would go way up, and I was right. And I got it when it was real reasonable, and I have a bunch of it in the fridge, and I've been shooting out of that. Watch those storms, Dave. All right, thank you. But I'll look and see. Yeah. I want to shoot some color film, so I got to figure out what kind to use. I'll probably just buy some cheap, whatever, Kodak Gold 200 or something, but I want to play with some color. You know, everybody else shoots Portra, but Portra is expensive now. Super expensive. And, you know, if I'm going to deal with that kind of pricing, I'm going to shoot digital. Oh, okay. They're 170 miles out. Yeah, it's supposed to rain all night here. There's supposed to be a ham fest in the morning, but it's a tailgate only, so it's boneyard only ham fest, which is always outdoors. So I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen now. If it does, it won't be much happen. It'll be pretty thin, so we probably won't go. All right. You guys have been wonderful. Thank you for sticking around as long as you did. And thank you for your patience while I worked on my stream gear and tried to figure out what was wrong. I'm pretty sure this is bad because it was shuddering super hard. I don't know what's wrong with it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure there's something failing in this thing. So, until next time, this is David, the Georgia photographer. I have to pick one up. I'm going to tell you to get your camera out and go take a picture with it, all right? We'll see y'all later. And if you haven't done it yet, go over to DP Review and look around a little bit because not too long you won't be able to. Just saying. So, curious to see. Next stream, I will have a photo challenge. There's going to be new rules, though, about how we share the photos. There's going to be entry tiers. I've been thinking about this a lot, and several people have expressed interest in me reviving the photo challenge, and I enjoyed doing it. But what happened was it got to be such a overwhelming thing to process on my side was that I couldn't get to do it. I couldn't get to it in a reasonable amount of time, and I got to where we were just rushing it just to get through the photos. And so rather than just run through it as fast as possible, I want to do it to where it's a more quality experience. So like I said, there's going to be participation thresholds. As more people participate, it will activate different rules. Like in the beginning, there's only going to be maybe 10 or 20 people. We'll share every photo. One photo per person. But once it crosses 20 and goes to 30 or something like that, it activates a different set of rules where it'll be the best 20 photos. See where I'm going? To where we can keep it manageable and, or my 20 favorites, not best. My 20 favorites. Best is the wrong word there. Point is that I want to keep it to a set number of images, and that way it doesn't start running away with itself. Because last time it got completely out of hand, and I couldn't manage it. But yeah, that's coming back in the next stream, and that'll probably be, hopefully, will be next week. We'll see if I can get everything to work. But until next time, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and get your camera out and go take a picture with it. Good night, y'all, and I appreciate it so much. All right, let me set the camera down and shut down this stream so we